Welcome to another entry from the Omni-Bestiary. Today's episode is being brought to you through some rather unique circumstances, as this was requested to me by SB4 in honor of a Perrserker that sacrificed itself in a Nuzlocke held by Clippyclipster on Twitch to prevent a shell smash sweep by a cloister.
Oh god. This is not good. This is very much not good. Oh, I'm dead. That's an Oko. That's an easy Oko. God. Dude, that's actually stupid.
It wasn't my original intention to accept episode requests right now, but since he was the very first person to do so, I decided to fulfill his wish. So for you, SB4, here's an entry for the Meowth Pokémon family. Meowth is a normal-type Pokemon with cream-colored fur, commonly seen around urban areas. It is a feline creature that shares traits with a domestic cat, including whiskers for increased environmental awareness, and retractable claws on its paws, which, as implied by its designation as the Scratch Cat Pokemon, are commonly used to slice up opponents in Pokemon battles. While its claws are retracted, it is capable of walking silently, both quadrupedally and bipedally. Its trademark is the gold coin bound to its forehead, which resembles a Koban coin used as currency in feudal Japan. This draws comparisons with the Maneki Neko, a charm said to bring luck and fortune to those who display it. Trainers who have a Meowth may find these things bestowed upon themselves as well, when this Pokemon uses his signature attack, Payday, where Meowth hurls loose change at the target, allowing its owner to claim it after the battle. Some have suggested that this might appear spontaneously, though it more likely came from its hoard of trinkets. At night, Meowth goes around and obsessively collects round, shiny objects, even if it has to put up a fight to claim them. But giving it some choice offerings is a good way to befriend it. Certain Meowth are also among the few Pokemon that are known to change their form as well as their size when exposed to Dynamax energy, elongating itself into a being of ridiculous appearance. However, the more anomalous specimen in the species is one that is known to have learned how to speak human languages, which it pushed itself to do from, if I'm reading this right, being a colossal simp. Despite this frankly outstanding ability, this Meowth has decided to use it to live a life of crime, which is weird. I mean, come on, would you rather want to become part of the scientific community? Take a look at that cerebrum. See how those neurons are firing off? Sorry. With sufficient experience in battle, Meowth metamorphs into Persian, the classic cat Pokemon. Although it has most of the same abilities as its previous form, Persian now possesses a larger quadrupedal body akin to that of a puma, yet bears little resemblance to the Persian cat. It also trades out its Koban for a red jewel. Persian are fierce hunters that silently stalk their prey and mercilessly tears them apart. It is a beloved Pokemon among the upper crust of society for its regal and sophisticated bearing, but they tend to have difficulty keeping it as a pet, as they tend to lash out their owners when they've had enough attention. Though some have figured out that grabbing hold of his whiskers makes it docile. The people willing to go through the trouble of keeping these Pokemon would be able to capture them in the Kanto region, as well as Alola and Galar, though one is likely to encounter specimens contrary to the descriptions I gave in the latter two areas. This is because Meowth and Persian are among the Pokemon that have regional subspecies, where conditions related to life in these regions cause these variants to develop different traits. Meowth and Persians in lowland forms were brought to this tropical island region by a royal family that selectively bred these creatures to become their symbol of wealth and power. Selective breeding is where humans breed creatures with specific traits so that their offspring would end up with them as well. For example, those who wish to produce cats with long fur would mate together two cats with genes that promote long hair growth, to increase the likelihood that their children would end up with such a trait. This has resulted in the production of animal breeds, a term used by humans to describe members of the same species that have particular characteristics. In cats, this includes the aforementioned brown-faced Persian, the diminutive Munchkin cat, and the hairless Sphinx cat. In these Pokemon, selective breeding has produced a version with a bluish-gray fur, whose smoothness has been compared to velvet, and has the added benefit of softening blows from attacks. They also have curled whiskers, as well as a larger, rounder face when as a Persian. In addition, presumably thanks to crossbreeding with fellow feline Purloin, their normal typing has been replaced with the dark type, something that is reflected in their personality. These Pokemon are vicious and cunning, especially in battle, as they are known to resort to torturous or underhanded attacks. Their rural upbringing also means that they're far more fussy and prideful than their Cantonian counterparts, and thus don't take too kindly to insults, like offering it lousy food or soiling its appearance. Although these Pokemon were once exclusive to the more fluent Alola, they eventually got out into the wild, and their population exploded. This, of course, makes it an example of an invasive species, a topic that we talked about in our previous episode, which, if you haven't seen, shame. For a quick recap, invasive species are creatures that are brought to a non-native habitat, whose presence can severely harm the survival of the native wildlife. Often, this is because humans foolishly decide to let their pets out to fend for themselves. As such, the domestic cat has become notorious for being one of the most widespread invasive species, as its popularity as a companion led humans to bring it with them all around the world. However, as a natural-born predator, it killed whatever it got a hold of. It was such an effective hunter that is being held responsible for the extinction of 33 island species, and is ranked among the 100 most dangerous invasive species, according to the Invasive Species Specialist Group. One could make the assumption that a Pokemon akin to the domestic cat in an island environment would cause massive damage to Alola's ecosystem. But there's no evidence to indicate that these Pokemon have caused any extinctions. Yet, it is likely that certain populations would have been kneecapped here, which may include bird Pokemon like Spearow and Pikipek, mouse-like Pokemon like Pichu and Rattata, and other smaller Pokemon, like Poliwag, Cutiefly, and Grubbin, assuming they manage to power through the latter two's type advantages. The origins of Meowth's Galarian form aren't as clearly defined as the Alolan form. However, its Pokedex entry is mentioned traveling with a band of seafaring warriors. This resembles the story of the Norwegian forest cat, another breed of cat that has historical ties with the Vikings, the 8th century Scandinavian raiders and settlers known for their effectiveness in combat. The Vikings, like many other seafarers, had cats occupy their ships to hunt down mice and prevent the spread of disease. This is also a major reason as to why cats have been brought to so many places. The Norwegian forest cat is believed to be partially descended from British short-haired cats that Vikings enlisted during their voyages in the British Isles. Life in the cold climate of Norway, and hybridization with other cat breeds, led to the emergence of this new breed, whose long fur kept it well insulated. I can't really call this another example of selective breeding, since there wasn't a clear effort to manipulate breeding pairs to emphasize traits here. But it is possibly the result of a concept called Peripatric Speciation. Speciation describes how one species or breed of animal diverges into different ones, allowing for the wide variety of life that exists on Earth. This often occurs when something emerges to prevent populations of the same species from interacting and mating with each other, such as natural barriers like rivers or mountains. Peripatric speciation, in particular, is where a small group from a population of animals, in this example, the British Shorthairs brought to Norway by the Vikings, are isolated from the rest of their group. Thus, because the two groups can't mingle with each other, they are left to evolve independently in different environments, which promotes their deviation into different creatures, as seen in the change from the British Shorthair to the Norwegian forest cat. The Galarian Meowth likely shares similar origin, though it picked up far more than just a long coat fur, which it does have in the form of an impressively scraggy beard, during its time with the Poke-Vikings. Their Meowth actually fought alongside them when raiding villages, which led to several extreme adaptations for this kind of life. The many battles it has fought in has darkened its fur and koban, and has even turned them into salt iron, now making it a steel-type Pokemon. Its koban is considered as a status symbol among its species, with the ones having the darkest and hardest ones being the most revered. This Pokemon is also always prepared for a fight, as its teeth and claws are bared at all times. Its most drastic change, however, is that instead of Persian, it transforms into a completely different creature. Berserker, the Viking Pokemon. Unlike Persian, Perrserker retains a bipedal stance. This allows it to effectively use its prolonged frontal claws as melee weapons. It can even fold them together to form makeshift daggers. The fur on the top of its head is also completely hardened into a helmet-like structure, allowing it to better withstand blows to the head, or blows coming from its head, which is likely to happen very often considering this Pokemon's violent thirst for battle, one that is akin to its namesake, the Berserker. The Berserkers were Viking warriors that fought in an entranced state to absolutely destroy anything in their path, friends included. It is believed that the Berserkers entered this state through intense ritualistic affirmations, along with help from some shrooms and plants. I cannot confirm whether or not Berserker undertakes similar preparations. Although Berserker is a reflection of the Vikings' destructive prowess in a fight, it doesn't really represent Viking culture as a whole. Vikings were far more than just warriors. They were also farmers, traders, writers, poets, and they even worked in politics. Of course, these people used prisoners as slaves and deemed ritual sacrifice to be acceptable, so one would be absolutely foolish to blindly worship history. But what I'm saying is that there's often more to people than what pop culture interpretations or widespread romanticizations of history would have you believe. Oh, also, while we're on the topic of misconceptions, let's talk about Berserker's horned helmet. Well, I mean, it isn't a helmet, it's, it isn't horns either. Like I said, the entire thing is just horned fur, but, look, the point is, Vikings didn't have horned helmets. So yeah, although animals like bovines and antelopes have horns to defend themselves, the Vikings never used such a thing in battles. If they did, it'll just be a burden when they fight side to side with each other in close quarters combat. It also makes for a lovely handhold for grapplers. The entire thing was just made up for German opera. So, with that being said, if you ever see something like, oh, I don't know, some maniac running around with a horned helmet or something, be aware that they probably know jack about Vikings. Thank you for watching today's entry, And thanks again, SB4, for requesting this to me. I hope you all return for the next one. But for now, I think I shall close things off with a little treat. Prepare for trouble, and make it double. To protect the world from devastation. To unite all people within our nation. To denounce the evil of truth and love. To extend our reach to the stars above. Jesse. James. Team Rocket! Blast off at the speed of light! Surrender now, or prepare to fight! Meowth! That is right.